Welcome to Nationalist Hub. I'm Suresh Kochattil. 24 years ago, the Indian Army won a very decisive battle at Kargil. Today, that battle is talked about in the annals of military history. It was something that was impossible, but the Indian Armed Forces did it. They lost men, a number of them, but the battle had to be won. Pakistan learnt a lesson in that war. Never ever try and get across to India. Today, to discuss Kargil and beyond, we have with us Colonel Retired V.V. Rao, a veteran from the Indian Armed Forces and somebody who has seen action in numerous parts of the country. So, as I start the discussion, Colonel Rao, I would request you to first talk about your various postings without giving away much of any confidential information that may be shared.
I have been commissioned into the Madras Regiment in 1986, and after 20 years I moved on to Sikh Light Infantry to command 10th Battalion, the Sikh Light Infantry. In between, I had done 5 tenures in Jammu and Kashmir, 3 tenures in the Northeast, and a couple of tenures in the Punjab and Rajasthan sectors. But mostly it has been in Jammu Kashmir for most of my life, including counter-terrorist operations.
So obviously you have seen action up front, because Northeast is not easy. It's still not easy. Jammu Kashmir, okay, the situation has stabilized a lot since the revocation of Article 370 and 35A. But when you talk of the Indian Army and when you talk of its discipline, its valor, over the years, right from the first 1948 operation that Pakistan launched on Srinagar, to the battle that we last saw at Kargil. Technically, India was not at war at that point in time. But when you look at the Indian Army and the incidents that took place initially at Kargil along the Dras sector, can you brief our viewers, because our viewers are not really familiar with the geography of that state, not really familiar with, they are familiar with the names, but not the heights at which these peaks are sitting.
Leh Ladakh is generally above 15,000 feet. The lowest portion is also around 13,500 feet. If you take Kardungla, it is around 19,000 feet. And Siachen Glacier, you encounter around 20,000, 21,000, going up to 22,000 feet. Now, what happens is, there are only two routes to Ladakh. That is one from mostly used, widely used highway, that is from Jammu to Srinagar, Srinagar via Jojla Pass through Kargil to Leh. And of course, there is a summer route now which is being enhanced via Manali, which takes longer route and more time and more prone to disasters. Now, Kargil, it becomes important mainly because in 1984, we occupied Siachen Glacier, denying any advantage to Pakistan. From NJ 9842, it is known as actual ground position line, whereby where our troops are there, that is our land. South of that NJ 9842, it is known as line of control, which is delineated between military commanders, saying that this is your area and this is our area. And it is properly defined and marked, to some extent marked on the ground by various local landmarks, but mutually agreed between both the parties.
So why did Pakistan, first they claimed it was irregulars or terrorists or whoever it is, why was Pakistan interested in occupying the Dras sector, the Kargil and all those peaks on top?
Pakistan was thinking that the terrorism is increasing in the Kashmir Valley. Of course, from 1989 when it started, by the time 1995 it came, 1994, 95, it reached its peak. Minimum 4,000 terrorists were there at any point of time in the valley itself. Okay. Now, the planning started slowly that time, and the General Musharraf, who was from their para-commandos equivalent, had always that James Bond type of mind, thinking slightly more than what is required, too much of vision. He thought if 1984 Siachen was taken by India, let me see if there are portions anywhere where I can occupy. And he found that the reserves of the division which is there in Leh have been moved to Valley for operations.
Indian Army Reserves.
Indian Army Reserves. And it is north of Jojila, east of Jojila, it is being held in light positions. And he also found that these are all heights above 5,000 meters, that is 16,000 feet high. And especially at Dras, the Tiger Hill, if it is occupied, the road can be dominated with the small arms fire also, with LMG machine gun fire also, which is easy to carry. And once the road is denied to Indian Army, the reserves cannot be moved to Leh.
Okay.
And if Manali road is also disturbed, then both the Chinese and Pakistan can be active, and they can do whatever they want and create mayhem in the entire Ladakh sector. This is, he was a, and before that, India and Pakistan became nuclear powers. So he presumed that India will not carry out a violent counterattack or counteroffensive in this sector. That was his plan.
But there were many allegations by different political parties, not by anybody else, that there was an intelligence failure, that India didn't know that these Pakistanis were sitting at these commanding heights. How come we didn't know this? How come we allowed this to happen? What, according to you, was the reading? How did this actually happen, this occupation of those heights happen?
Firstly, they used Chitral scouts as irregulars. For example, I will describe it more. From Sonamag, Amarnath is only 13 kilometers south by foot. All the traversing, you will take only 13 kilometers to reach Amarnath cave itself. Now, Jojila Pass is slightly ahead of Sonamag, and after Jojila Pass is Moscow Valley, and these are all great heights above 5,000 feet. Now, Moscow Valley, after Moscow Valley is Dras. Tiger Hill overlooks Dras. Now, next is 5353, 5140, all these great heights, and Chor Batla. The very name itself says Chor Batla. Only thieves probably use that route ever. Nobody, regular personnel never used it. The population is very thin in that area. And after Kargil, it is all Buddhists. Not even the so-called what they think that Muslim population will help them out, which in any case won't do, because Kargil is basically Shia population and not Sunni population.
So that actually, just sorry interrupting you there, but when Musharraf thought about these plans, you know, he would have had something at the back of his mind thinking, as you rightly said, that India will not attack. But do you think in retrospect he was wrong?
Pakistan has always been tactically sound and strategically weak.
Okay.
They have come out with brilliant ideas, like 1948 operations itself. If you see, Gilgit-Baltistan had only one British major, and who is a local promotee, not even a regular officer commissioned like us from the National Defence Academy or otherwise. He got promoted from ranks. That major killed the Brigadier Ghansara Singh and flew the Pakistani flag. This was engineered by Pakistan. They always did like this. They were always brilliant in strategy. Had they captured the Srinagar airport, probably Srinagar would have gone.
And that was your Sikh Light Infantry which prevented that by landing in time.
Kumaon regiment mostly had done this, and Sikh regiment.
Sikh regiment had done
Sikh
it, yes.
regiment had done the counterattacks and captured till Baramulla and pushed back the terrorists, irregulars. And they always denied these people are our men. They said like these are all Jammu Kashmir people revolting against the government. Tribals capturing the heart of the city. This was this thing. In the Kargil also they tried to use Chitral scouts as irregulars. That is why they denied the bodies. This is most unfortunate thing. I always say Pakistan army is the only army which lost all battles so far, and which denied its own soldiers, and nothing can be more heinous than that.
You need to give them that burial, that honor which they fought for.
Yes, they did not give.
When we look at the battles that were fought along the Dras sector, along Tololing or Tiger Hill or Khalubara 4875, and in operations in Batalik and all these points, you're familiar with the terrain. how difficult was it to dislodge these people sitting on top? Because we had the Nagas, we had the Sikh, we had all regiments, we had thrown in, the Indian army had thrown in literally everything into the battle. How difficult is it to dislodge a force sitting on top like that?
Anybody who is sitting on the top, obviously he has got advantage. He has got firstly observation, what we call it as Voda cycle when you act in the armed forces. Firstly he has got observation, then he is monitoring you, then he can take accurate aim and fire. Whereas while people going from bottom to upwards, firstly he has to negotiate ridge lines. That means he has got only few places to climb up. Obviously he cannot, where steep slopes are there, it is difficult to climb up. Then secondly, he cannot fire upwards. What we call it as the fire will go over the enemy's heads. He will not be able to fire effectively. Third thing is, and the first thing is, he does not have observation. The other chap sitting with the binoculars can observe everybody, whereas even with the night scopes, you cannot do anything because you are looking from bottom to upwards.
Then how did this Indian army do this?
That is where the valiant leadership and the motivation provided by them and the troops, they had the best of the troops, including Jack Light Infantry, which consists of mostly people from the valley itself.
Jammu Kashmir Light
Jammu Kashmir Light Infantry. 12 Jackal was there in Chor Batla sector. They acted, and they are the most best of the people. 8 Sikh was there in Dras. Similarly, other units have been there. 2 Rajrif was there. I had seen 2 Rajrif thereafter also. See, these people, despite heavy fire, they passed through.
Yeah, in fact, that's one very unique thing, because the initial patrols were also ambushed. Captain Vijayan Thapar and many other officers lost their lives there. But the Indian army, as I said before, threw in everything they had. The Nagas tried climbing up; they are very good at that. But when you're climbing up a hill, and I'm told that you try and sacrifice as much of rations as possible because you carry that much of heavy weight, rather you prefer to carry ammunition rather than food. I mean, to survive in that kind of climate, which must be in the minuses, I mean, this must have been one hell of a battle.
Dras is one of the coldest places on earth, that is minus 56 degrees centigrade, even in the Dras village itself. That is where the Bofors was deployed. Now, to operate a gun which was designed in Europe and operating in Indian conditions at an altitude of 13,500 minimum and firing at altitudes of 16,000, where the air becomes thin and your mathematical calculations go for a 6, then the temperature and the weather conditions change every 2 hours, and of course the people moving up, they cannot move with heavy loads, and especially while counter-attacking. Because while doing counter-attack, you cannot go in a single file, you have to go in an extended file. When you are going in an extended file with no route and clear-cut track going upwards, it becomes all the more difficult. You have to climb like a goat or an ibex, which is prominent in that area.
Correct.
And that these people did.
One thing, Colonel Rao, when you look at the battle casualties, of course, they all got their honors. They got the Mahavir Chakra, the Paramveer Chakras, and the Sena medals and other battle honors. But we did lose a number of senior officers in this battle, at the major level, at the colonel level, at the lieutenant colonel level. Some of them were, I mean, in spite of being injured, in spite of knowing that they're hit, they went after the targets, they went into the bunkers, cleared it one after another before succumbing to the injuries. What kind of leadership quality, I mean, the brilliant leadership quality we are talking of here?
In 2 words, I can say leading from the front. Whether it is a patrol, whether it is an ambush, whether it is a recce, whether it is only clearing the final drill or clearing a minefield, Indian Army officers have been leading the troops from the front. That is why the Pakistani troops are known to be saying, give us Indian officers who will conquer the world.
So that's brilliant. That must be all in the training. And of course, in the training, you're not taught battle conditions. But when you're operating maybe in Manipur, maybe in the northeast, with dense jungles, or you're operating in the icy heights of, you're talking of Dras and these areas, then of course Siachen was there before that. Do you think the Indian Armed Forces, of course, we are now equipped better than the 62 debacle which the Indian Army faced at the hands of the Chinese. But do you think as we fought that war, suppose just fast forward it to 2023. I know they cannot go and occupy those heights again, Pakistan, but if the war was fought in 2023, would it have been a different kind of retaking of those peaks?
Yes, it would have been, but I also say no. The reason is, these are altitudes at which entire Switzerland is would have been seen as a low-lying area.
Okay.
No technology, no metallurgy works in these areas. To give an example, when I was in the glacier, there was a grenade launcher imported from a foreign country, and that burst while firing. Because the metallurgy becomes unfit at minus 55 degrees centigrade, and the ammunition itself, it does not cater for those freedom, what do you call it, metallic changes. So it goes for a 6. Then secondly, all your drones also, present day drones, none of them can operate beyond 15,000 feet high. In fact, Indian pilots, they operate the French designed Elevate helicopter, which is designed for maximum height of 15,000. We are operating at 22,000 feet. That is 33 to 40% more.
You're stretching it, actually.
Stretching it beyond the means.
We lost one helicopter in that battle at Tololing, I think so.
Even otherwise, we have been losing helicopters in Siachen, in Arunachal Pradesh. In Arunachal Pradesh, even to find a helicopter or aeroplane which has crashed, it takes 24 to 48 hours at times. And some of them have not been found.
Yeah, even Second World War remains are being found these days.
Have been found multiple times.
Colonel Rao, as I said, you have seen action in the Northeast. Okay, let's look at the intelligence part of it.
Yeah.
The human intelligence is important. On the ground intelligence, we have seen that brilliantly work in Jammu and Kashmir. To such an extent that today a terrorist who carries out an attack is tracked within hours and eliminated possibly within the next 24 hours. Technical intelligence is another part of it. Do you think both these need to complement? Only then can a successful operation be done?
Yes, technical intelligence always has to be followed on ground.
Collaborated.
Corroborated. And also, we need to develop intelligence on the other side. Had we had people on the other side working for us, probably we would have been better off knowing the intentions. The intentions of the enemy commander are more important. Secondly, it is something like intelligence is something like data science. When the raw information comes, it needs to be grouped in various formats and analyzed, and thereafter disseminated and action taken. So sometimes even if small intelligence inputs are available, but they don't really lead to data analysis. That was one of the biggest pointers during our times, in the olden times. Now with the technology developing, with the satellite imagery, with the drone technology coming up, hopefully this will reduce to a large extent, but still there is one factor which cannot be fathomed, that is enemy commander's intention. And once you have an intention, let me tell you, if you want to carry out an offensive or some action, you can always do it.
India has never crossed the international border till the Balakot incident took place. Of course, we did our surgical strike, but we can still call that as POK. But to cross directly into Pakistan after the Uri attack and take a revenge like we did in Balakot, what stopped us at Kargil that day from doing this?
The word revenge in Balakot, I tend to disagree with that. Actually, we always recommend, as professionals, we recommend their launch pads, which are generally around 3 to 5 kilometers away from the line of control, and the depth bases, their training camps to be targeted. But then India is a peaceful country and it doesn't want to get involved in such this thing. Until the time our attitude remains, hopefully it remains the same, probably we are a peace-loving country and can take a lot of rubbish from the inimical countries, whether it is Pakistan, China or anything.
So when you look at the battles of Tololing, or as I said, the battle of the Tiger Hill, Captain Vikram Batra and others, I mean, we have numerous bravery stories out there. But end of the day, it is the Jawan who is being led by a commanding officer whom he reposes total faith, saying if he asks me to do something, I'll do it for the nation and do it for him. Do you think the Indian Army serves as an excellent example of what man management is all about?
Exactly. We are the best example for human motivation. I will not call human resource management, but human motivation, I think it is the highest. A person dies just because you told him something, gave an order. And especially in infantry, which I belong to, there are no written orders anywhere. It is just the intention. And many a times, he understands what you are intending to tell by simple words, and he executes that. That is the greatest factor.
He doesn't even think twice.
He doesn't even think twice.
Brilliant. I mean, when you look at the recent changes in the recruitment policy of the Indian Army, and I'm especially referring to the fact that when we talk of the Agniveer scheme, a lot of army officers who are supporting the scheme or had this argument that Indian Army needs to become young, at least at an average age. Of course, at the commander level, at the CEO level, at the major and colonel level, you need to have certain amount of years of experience. But when you look at the young army, China has a young army. The US also is coming down on its age group. Do you think the Agniveer scheme will enable the Indian Army to be more agile, fit? Because today's battles are not about the old kind of battle. No trench battles are fought nowadays. The tanks are also there, but that is not really the battle of the tanks. It's all about thinking, technology, and of course the boots on the ground, as you call it.
Agniveer, it is a good concept. Perhaps it would have been better with the 7 years color service and probably 2 years reserve service. That is one thing, my personal opinion. The second thing which I want to tell is, some amount of professional maturity is also required. Sometimes it plays more than the zeal and enthusiasm. Agniveer is a very good, already Indian Army at the Jawan level, it is quite young. Though over a period of time, the services levels of Havaldars have been increased to 24 years because of the civilian pressures, that is trying to compare with the civilian counterparts or the paramilitary forces. We are very young, but yes, more younger crowd is more required, and we are going to take 25% best of those people into for regular service. That is good. But one thing I find best in Agniveer's concept is, Indian youth is one of the largest in the world today, and it is going to be the backbone of Indian economy in future. So these people are willing to join army, and everybody must be given a chance, if possible, to join the armed forces. Unfortunately, army is 1 million or even less, whereby at least Agniveer concept gives maximum youth to get a chance to serve the nation, then get discipline and get some amount of maturities in their level of thinking, and also see the difficult border areas. For example, most of the South Indians may not know where exactly Manipur is, or a North Indian or a Northeastern person may not know what is the difference between Tamil Nadu and Kerala, or Pondicherry and Kerala, or Pondicherry and Tamil Nadu. People will come to know because of that.
Yeah, that's because like Israel does, they have a conscription which ensures.
I'm more happy because Agniveer actually gives more people to participate in the national construction activity. And after coming out also, they will be able to contribute to the thing better. But only the request that can be made to the central government is, like Americans, where a particular QR qualified person is there, it is mandatory for the corporations to take them on board. Whereas it is not compulsory in India. That has to be made, that rule modification has to be brought in like American Army, where if you are meeting the basic QR for a particular job, the ex-servicemen must be given preference.
And not as a security guard. In fact, one of the senior army officers. That is
one of my apprehensions also, because I'll be very blunt. Times now, your own media channel which owns a employment opportunity also, the moment you type Indian Army, even as a colonel, he has put me in the security guard column. Despite me doing IIM Ahmedabad course and qualified in artificial intelligence and everything.
No, that's what's at fact, because today a Jawan, at the lowest level, can take a tank apart and put it back again.
Yes.
He is not considered as a technical guy, but he is posted outside a hotel, a 5-star hotel as a security guard or something like that, which is sad. But as we close this conversation, Colonel Rao, something that strikes me is also the problem at the senior level. Indian Army officers are also having a shortage at the senior level. Do you think the lure of the corporate sector is taking away many of the senior officers after a certain point of service within the armed forces?
Yes. Firstly, the corporate sector now it is thriving like anything. Whether not only IT, we have even diversified from IT also. Way back it was only IT and nothing else. There are many people who do not just they do not just like IT itself. They want to get diversified. They want to get other opinions, other opportunities. But the longer service, in fact, after this war OP thing which came, people said we will not give full pension after 20 years of service. I personally say that give them full pension after 10 years or 15 years of service, and you will see good quality people coming.
On the technology front, since you are speaking on technology today, tomorrow's war is not about, as I said before, maybe tanks will still be used, but today it's all about missiles. A soldier who is 10th class pass is still handling a missile which costs lakhs of rupees. A 26-year-old boy who's trained, of course, flies fighter jets today. A young captain commands a kind of a warship. Do you think at leadership level, technology today plays a very, very important role in tomorrow's war? We are talking of cyber attacks, we're talking of drones, we are buying Predator drones, by the way, from the US, you know that. But when you look at technology in tomorrow's war scenario, how do you think it has changed? Say, Kargil happened 24 years ago. If we had something, we would have done something differently. But in tomorrow's war, hopefully it should not be any war at all, but we're looking at Ukraine versus Russia, what's happening out there. There are a lot of lessons to be learned. What is your lessons for the future?
It has to be a happy balance between motivated personnel and high technology. If high technology were to serve the purpose, America would have won all the wars.
They lost everything almost.
They may not have lost, but at least they withdrew in a
humiliating way.
Sometimes haste. Like the Afghanistan, the way people were crouching around the aircraft. Vietnam. Iraq to some extent. Syria, no go. Yemen, nowhere they are progressing anywhere. Somalia. All these cases, Libya. All these cases you can see. Technology alone will not suffice. It is the man behind the machine, highly motivated, who is capable of giving his life and who has got the professional maturity to see things. And especially America does not have heights like us. Their highest mountain is 11,000 feet. Ours is 11,000 feet. We don't even acclimatize. Indian Army doesn't even acclimatize.
That's true. I mean, that is very important, because the technical training that goes into making of youngsters today, and that is where I said we also need IITs, but we also need more ITIs to train youngsters for tomorrow.
Even more than that, you require motivated people to go on ground and ability to withstand difficulties. For example, many a times, as you yourself said, while climbing up the mountain, at the best you may have one more meal with you. And after that meal is over, you are high and dry. And water, more than that, water. 1 liter of water which you are carrying for next 24 hours, and once it is over, on the hilltop you are not going to get any water till the time you reach the nearest stream.
And you're fighting a battle at the same time.
And you are more focused on the enemy. So, ability to withstand these things.
The mental toughness.
The mental toughness also matter.
And that is what I think makes the Indian Army an institution by itself. The Indian Armed Forces, I'm not just saying the Indian Army, the Indian Armed Forces, be it the Navy or the Air Force or the Indian Army and the paramilitary forces, of course. But more importantly, as Colonel Rao was mentioning us during this discussion today, that the Indian Army has undergone a metamorphosis, because it started way back in 48 with the first of the fights with Pakistan, and then last down to Balakot. We today have the best of aircraft, we have the best of technology, we hopefully have the best of intelligence. But then at the end of the day, as Colonel Rao was mentioning, it's the man behind the machine that matters. Colonel Rao, thank you very much for speaking to us. at Nationalist Hub, and hopefully I think you should come back for more sessions so that tomorrow's youngsters, they learn from you, veterans like you, as to what the Indian Army is, what the discipline is like, and what mental toughness is like.
I would like to add one more thing.
Sure, sir.
Indian Army is highly capable of adopting any technology. Example I will give you. There is a night vision device which is designed by the French, which they say maximum operational at any point of time is 8 hours. Thereafter you have to cool it and then only use it. We always use it for more than 12 hours.
Jugaad.
That is the greatness of Indian Army.
In fact, I recently, in one of the exhibitions, I did see a company from Kanpur which makes night vision equipment. They make, helmets which don't have any bolts in it. I mean, they are kind of boltless helmets, which is wonderful. I mean, we couldn't think of these things. Yes. Possibly the Atmanirbhar policy is finally coming home and making it all work. We would love to have you another day, Colonel Rao, and hopefully you will oblige us with that.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity, and we will meet again.
Sure, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that was Colonel Retired V.V. Rao, who spoke to us about Kargil, who spoke to us technology, who spoke to us about people and training and intelligence. We can't do justice in half an hour of conversation. We'll have more of these in the days to come along. Thank you for watching. Jai Hind.
Please subscribe to Nationalist Hub English channel for more interesting videos, and don't forget to like and share this video. Nationalist Hub, it's a news revolution.